Hi, my name is tesler-mabe, and today we're going to be looking at how to write catchy riffs that stick in your head. And by the end of this lesson, we'll have explored some of the elements of some really catchy, iconic songs that we all know and love. And hopefully you'll be able to use these tips and tricks to write your own catchy songs, or even just write catchy guitar solos and parts for your band, for you, for a jam you head to. Whatever it is, you'll be able to write really, really strong parts, hopefully by following these tips. So obviously, I don't claim to know the answer to this, because this is the ever-elusive question that has stumped songwriters for generations, really. And sometimes it's hard to even figure out what makes a certain song a hook. Pardon me, what makes a certain song a hit, more so than others. But the reason songs are usually hits is because they have strong hooks in them. That's why I got the two confused, because hit and hook basically mean the same thing, right? Because a hook is something that grabs the listener, it's memorable, it's catchy, it's usually something people want to sing along to. And when we go through all of these songs that we'll be exploring today and applying it to our own song that we'll be writing together, hopefully you'll see that this catchy, memorable hook is kind of the through line of the whole thing, whether you're trying to write a catchy song, a catchy guitar solo, whatever it is. So in case you're still a little confused as to what a hook is, what it generally is a melody, a vocal melody, a guitar melody, a horn part, something that people can sing along to. But it could even be a drum fill. It could be a catchy hand clapping part, like in Take the Money and Run by Steve Miller Band. It could be any of those. And to give an example, we're going to take a look at a very iconic song by Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. And there's a reason that most people find themselves humming the bass line to this song all day if you just hear it one time. So in order for something to be singable, it needs to be accessible enough and understandable enough for people to be able to grasp onto it their very first listen. So let me give you an example by playing the opening bass riff of Billie Jean that continues throughout pretty much the whole song. Sounds like this. And it's very simple, but it's really catchy and memorable. And even if you don't sing the exact pitches, you might find yourself just sort of like, you know, finding the rhythmic part of it memorable, or just the feeling of it, whatever it is. But even so, once that song starts playing, it's not uncommon to hear people start saying, so catchy, right? So a good trick, when you write a hook that you think is catchy, maybe try playing it for a trusted family member or a friend or a fellow musician, whomever, and see if they can sing it back to you. So obviously this isn't an absolute requirement for a hook. I don't think you need to put so much pressure on this, sing test, let's call it, and think, well, if they can't sing it back to me, then this must be a bad hook. Not necessarily, but I think it's worth a try because it usually is a pretty good indication of how catchy something is. So what is the importance of referencing a song like Billie Jean? Well, let me tell you, I think the best thing you can do as an aspiring songwriter or a guitar soloist or whatever is to reference great works of art from the past. Billie Jean obviously succeeded at being an ultimate hook. I don't know if it was Michael Jackson or Quincy Jones who came up with that, iconic bass line that everyone knows, but obviously, because everyone loves that song decades and decades later, it succeeded. So there's a lot to learn from it. And keeping that in mind, the singable, accessible nature of that, let's try to put it to the test with a jam track that I created, which you can download down below. But let's see what happens if, I try a couple hooks, see which ones are singable and accessible, see which ones aren't, and this might help give some direction as to how to write a really catchy, effective, and memorable part. I threw an envelope filter on my guitar for an effect. Let's try something else. Say that again. All right, so I'm curious, feel free to leave a comment down below of which one of those you thought was a better hook. And as much as I'd love to hear your feedback right now, that's not possible because that's not how the internet works. So I'm gonna have to keep filming the video, and I'm gonna let you know, in my opinion, I think number 2 is a more effective hook. So the first one I thought in isolation was a pretty cool line, but right now we're thinking about what is accessible, what is singable. So just think, if you can't sing a hook all in one breath without, getting caught on your tongue or, running out of breath before the end of the phrase, how can you expect that someone's going to be able to sing along or hum along to your song on the radio when they're driving home or when they're, hanging out with their friends or at a party or whatever? So keep that in mind. Think about the sing test. Think about leaving space so that it feels like every note has intention in what you're writing. And that'll probably lead to a very strong hook. So my challenge to you is to use the jam track, try some hooks out, play them for your friends or family, see which ones they think are catchy and which ones you yourself think are catchy. You can always trust your gut, even if it goes against what other people think. That doesn't always mean you're wrong. Just, it's nice to use other people as reference, right? Because if you're writing songs for people, that's great. So once you have a hook that other people are singing along to, you can move on to the next point, point number 2. Make it repetitive. In a lot of iconic songs, such as Billie Jean, that bass line that we've been talking about actually repeats throughout pretty much the whole song. It's kind of the driving force and the momentum and the backbone of the whole thing. So what I challenge you to do is to listen to songs that you find catchy and pay attention to where that hook is in the song. Like, for example, if you listen to Billie Jean, you notice that this part repeats throughout pretty much the whole intro, all of the verse. It cuts out for the pre-chorus, and then it comes back for the chorus. So it's there pretty much the whole time. So now I'm going to apply this to the jam track, and I, of course, challenge you to do the same. But I'm going to try taking hook number 2 that I came up with and playing it along to the track, and let's see what that sounds like. Just keep repeating that. Just like Billie Jean, I'm going to cut out for the pre-chorus, and I'll come back in with this hook for the chorus. So if you're practicing with the same lick that I came up with here, just try playing along to the track, try repeating it the way I did, see what that sounds like and feels like. But if you've come up with your own lick that you love, that you think is singable, try that as well in context and have fun exploring. So step or tip number 3 is to add more depth to the hook by following the chord changes, because you may have heard that the track I was playing over had more than one chord in it, and most songs do. An example of this put into action would be, the ending solo of Hotel California. At the very end, there's that iconic melody that I would love to play for you, but I don't want this video to get taken down for copyright. So feel free to take a listen to that song, and you'll hear that that iconic da 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 follows the chord changes for quite a while, and that's probably why that part of the solo is so memorable. But going back to Billie Jean, this also happens, with this catchy bass riff we've been talking about a lot. At a certain point, the chords change, and this whole motif moves up a fourth, because the chords do as well. And back. And now, to apply this to the track we've been playing over, I actually took the chord changes from Lovely Day by Bill Withers. And in the chorus part of the song, we have our A major, our 1 chord, and it moves down to F sharp minor, that's 1 to 6. Then it goes to 4, to D major, and then we have an F major and an E major. And that F major comes from a different key and is part of why it's such a cool chord progression. But the chord change I want to outline is that D major, because you may have noticed that the hook I've been playing seems to come from F sharp minor pentatonic, which is the same as A major pentatonic. So it works perfectly over those first two chords. But then, let's see what happens if we move up to D major pentatonic for that D major chord. Let's see what that sounds like. Now let's move up to D major. Move back down. Back up to D major. So, this is especially effective if you have a lick that's repeating throughout the song, because it can be a really unexpected and interesting change for the listener, whether it's for your song, for your guitar solo, whatever it is. And this is just a cool way to keep that motif going, but add a little color to it. So far, we've looked at how a lot of hooks seem to be singable, accessible. They seem to be repetitive, and that's a great way to make something memorable for someone, right? If you just keep repeating it over and over again, at a certain point, they're probably going to start to internalize it. Number 3, you could follow the changes with your hook, and that's a great way to add some movement and something interesting to your guitar solo or your song, whatever it is. But I want to give you a 4th tip, and this is especially important. I think if you're trying to write a memorable guitar solo, or a hook with a little bit more of a live feeling, where it feels like you're improvising as you go. And this is adding embellishments. And again, if you follow just any of the previous tips for writing catchy hooks, that'll probably give you a really good starting place, and you might not even need all 4 of these tips to get the job done. But I wanted to explore this because it can be really effective. And to give an example, the song Oye Como Va by Tito Puente originally has a really iconic flute opening that sounds like this. And it just repeats a few times. So what's interesting about this song is a lot of people know it because of Santana, because Santana does a really iconic cover of this song. And what he did was take the original hook from the Tito Puente version, and then he adds embellishments to it as the song progresses. So then it turns into something like this. So this tip here is so useful if you want to transform a maybe more catchy pop feeling motif into something that has, like I said earlier, more of a live feeling. This is commonly used in rock. Makes sense that Santana would have used it. You may have heard that he, adds all of these licks and embellishments throughout it that feel really improvised, but they never take away from the core integrity of the hook itself. And so, to give an example of this put in action, I'm going to play along to the track using the hook that I've come up with, and I'm going to try adding little embellishments throughout it to maybe transform this into more of a memorable guitar solo, or at least a hook with more of a live feeling to it. So just so you know what to look out for and what you could consider trying yourself, I'm going to try adding some notes in between the hooks. So I could add a little extra notes like I did there, still making sure to come back to that hook, at the right place, just to never take away from its core integrity. And another thing you could consider trying is, ending on a different note. So for instance, that's the original. I could try ending like this. You might have been able to hear there I ended on a different note. And so that's an example of something else you could try. Cut out for the pre-chorus. Now let's come back in for the chorus. And then I went into a little bit of a guitar solo there. That was not the point of this exercise, but I'm sorry, I just couldn't help myself. So my ultimate creative challenge and homework to you is to give this a try yourself. Feel free to go through this exercise with the hook that I created or another hook from another song that you like, but then take off the training wheels, so to speak, and try this yourself and just have fun with it. There's no better way to get better at writing than to just do it. And, you know, use the sing test, try to come up with something singable and memorable. Try to take a motif that has passed that catchy sing test and repeat it throughout a, entire section of the song or the whole thing. Try to follow the chord changes with it. Try adding some embellishments in between the lick and the hook as well to see what that experience is like for you. So once you've done all that, I'd love to hear what you come up with. Record it, film it, leave a link to the video down below or the audio. I'd love to check it out, and I hope you have fun. The whole point of this is to have fun and be creative, and I hope you have a wonderful day.